So on Wednesday, President Donald Trump signed the Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act of 2017. So it passed the Senate and the House overwhelmingly, and then on Wednesday, Donald Trump had signed it. So this is some video that was attained by CNN of the moments where President Donald Trump was signing the legislation right here.
We have time. Come on over. The people behind me have been working.
And as you notice in the back, there's a woman, you know, dabbing.
We appreciate it.
So, Mr. President, we have a survivor. This is M.A. She was the first person to sue Backpage in 2010, and she elbowed me and would like to say something.
From Ferguson, Missouri.
Very good.
I am not a survivor. I am MA. It's about damn time.
All right, so that woman who is only being reported as MA, she was a sex trafficking survivor. So she was the first one to sue Backpage.com, which is a classified ads website that was long criticized for failing to crack down on sex trafficking on its platform. The DOJ has recently seized the site, and 7 people that were associated with the platform were indicted on charges of facilitating prostitution, conspiracy, and money laundering. An investigation done by the Washington Post claims that through their investigation, Backpage.com was not only involved with creating content, but they also solicited prostitutes on other platforms to come and advertise on their own platform. So they had an integral part in producing the content on the website. It wasn't like they would just they just had a space and third parties were posting content and they had no knowledge of anything. No, they had firm knowledge of what was going on and they let it happen, of course, for money. So anyway, the legislation will presumably allow victims to hold websites accountable for knowingly facilitating sex trafficking by cutting into the broad protections websites have had from legal liability from content posted by their users. So in that vein, it's good. It's good because if you're going to crack down on, sex trafficking and this one individual, MA, that was at the signing of the legislation, she was kidnapped and she was sold into prostitution, of course, unwillingly. And, she got away or whatever. I don't know her whole story, but afterwards she was the first one to sue Backpage.com. So of course, the United States government, senators, the Congress, they felt like they had to do something and hold these platforms responsible for the content that was being, I guess, promoted on their platforms, not just because it's there, but because they know it's there and they don't do anything about it.
I mean, the women that were here for the signing of this bill, they weren't like prostitutes, right? They were trafficked against their will. So this is not just, I guess, about sex trafficking per se. It's actually about slavery.
Yes,
they were being enslaved. It was just sex. Sex was just the method that they were being exploited. Now, I mean, I think there's like other issues that can come up, but I think that's definitely gonna lead us down a rabbit hole because now we're getting into sex work, because it's because since sex work is already illegal, that the legitimate sex work kind of got swept up into all this in order to prevent pretty much slavery, right? Sex slavery. Like I understand, me personally, I understand something had to be done about it. But I just wish that they would kind of go forth with some sort of effort after this to maybe not target sites that, offer some sort of third-party advertisement for just sex work in general. Okay.
So let's get into that.
What I'm saying?
So like kind of leading into, there are some critics of this legislation, and the critics believe that this legislation was, I guess, crafted too broadly, and it would open up internet platforms to lawsuits because of content that they didn't know was there. So this is from, I believe this is from the Washington Post. Civil liberties advocates attacked the bill as too broad, creating new liability for websites that had previously been protected by the Communications Decency Act for content posted by third parties. A number of websites, including Craigslist, began shutting down sections that might be construed as sex-related after the bill passed the Senate last month. Craigslist, as anybody knows, if you ventured onto Craigslist before, they have personal ads. So depending on what you're looking for, you can put personal ads there. So now when you go onto the website and you click on the personal ad, this is what you're going to see. U.S. Congress just passed H.R. 1865, FOSTA, seeking to subject websites to criminal and civil liability when third parties, users, misuse online personals unlawfully. Any tool or service can be misused. We can't take such risk without jeopardizing all our other services, so we are regretfully taking Craigslist personals offline. Hopefully we can bring them back at some day.
See, now, like you had a question, kind of before the show. We were talking about it, and you said, well, if Craigslist wasn't, I wouldn't say taking part. If Craigslist, knew that there may be some illegal activity as far as sex trafficking going on, then that would be the reason why they started, taking those pages down. But to me, it sounded like they just didn't want to be liable for things that they really couldn't control based on maybe how many employees they have. Again, I looked at some numbers about how many ads kind of just traveled through the platform of Craigslist and then how many employees they have. I just don't think that they can actually realistically track that. You're going to have some person going through 30,000 different ads a day. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think they're trying to escape liability. And to me, it says that they probably understand that there may be some illegal activity, but they just don't have the ability to track it. I don't think it's an admittance of guilt. I just think that they don't have the resources to track something like that, and are trying to I guess shy away from any possible liability that might occur from third-party people posting things, when honestly I don't think that they can even keep track of it. And from what I've heard, it's anything that can possibly be related to sex, not just specifically like the personals. Like I've heard of certain massage therapists posting ads. Can't post ads anymore because, as we know that when people do post sex ads, they don't always explicitly say sex. Like what you said earlier was about what word do they usually use when they want to solicit a client?
They're escorting services.
Yes, and also some use like massage type language. So a lot of that stuff got taken down too.
Well, okay, so the bill amends 4 parts. Well, the bill amends parts of 4 federal laws. Now, when you read what they amended, like the language that is now there, it's all about prostitution. It's all about sex trafficking. It's all about underage prostitution, sex trafficking, things like that. So when you read that, for the critics that say, you should have, drafted this more broadly.
Oh, you mean drafted it more?
Or, if they drafted it more narrowly. Yeah. I don't know what way they could actually be more narrow, because like I said, if you look at the particular language they use, it's all about prostitution and sex trafficking. Now, about the prostitution, I think that's what you were talking about. Like, you're including prostitution and you're including sex trafficking when you're trying to do something about sex trafficking. I understand that what they're doing is that they're taking a position against prostitution because, of course, prostitution is illegal in this country. So if you're selling sex, if you're selling prostitution on a platform and the platform knows about it, then that platform is going to be liable for what is being posted on their website. Now, if you don't know what's going on, I think it's going to be hard for the government to say you did know what was going on.
And that they did use the word, they did use that language in the bill. It
says
they did.
When
sites have knowledge that it's happening.
Right.
So I think, again, that is going to be a real iffy point right there, because how can you actually prove that the site had knowledge? And it actually might,
with Backpage.com. That was one example, because they were crafting this content.
But see, that's one special case, because they were the ones like helping.
Right.
In instances where they're not helping the third parties, how can they prove that the website knew? All the advertisements are not straightforward, is what I'm saying. Like, obviously, if the advertisement is straightforward, then you can be like, oh, okay, we can't have this here. And obviously, if there's some sort of foreknowledge about a particular third party, yes, there are steps they can take. But if it's very vague and they are not, you can't be quite sure what these third parties are offering. If they're just offering, like, you know, complimentary massages or something, and they're advertising certain girls.
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't
offering escorts with certain girls. There's no way to know whether that's legitimate, a legitimate business like a brothel or something.
But see, I don't think this is vague. I don't think the language is vague. It's just these platforms like Craigslist are scared that they may be culpable for what is going on the platform. Again, like, if somebody is an escort and they're offering their services through their website or through a website, a platform, whatever like that, I don't think that's going to be a case where the people that are offering it or the website is going to be liable, because as we know, or as you know, most people probably do know, with escorts, you're not selling sex, they're selling companionship. So sex may be on the table, and of course people understand that, but I can pretty much guarantee that these escorts are not proposing to have sex when they meet up with these individuals that are, you know, paying for their services.
Everybody just knows the deal.
Everybody knows the deal, but that would be a hard thing for a government to prove, especially, like I said, you know, these sex workers, which they are sex workers, you know, they're not going to prompt these individuals with sex. They're going to wait for that individual that's paying for these services to prompt them. Now, and then at that point, there's no guilt there. You can't hold a liable for that.
Now, these are just kind of American-based websites, though, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, then. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of foreign-based websites popping up doing the same thing. And that bill is not going to, you can't enforce that bill on foreign sites. That's my thing.
So this is okay. So the executive director of Freedom Network USA, her name is Jean Brugman. She said shutting down every service provider and website will not end sex trafficking. She also said what it will do is push traffickers to overseas websites that are beyond the reach of law enforcement, making it harder to prosecute them and harder to find them through the victims. Now, that's pretty much just what you said, and that is possible. That is very possible, but I don't think that's a reason for the government not to do anything. Like, if there are people being sold on platforms and the government knows about this, they know that these platforms know about it, then yeah, I think it would behoove the government to take a stance against it. How do they create a situation where it doesn't allow foreign companies to step in and do the same thing? Man, that's anybody. I don't know. That's anybody's guess. But I don't think that reality or that likelihood should cause them not to do anything whatsoever.
I think the reason, there wouldn't be such opposition to it if sex work wasn't illegal in the first place. We wouldn't even be talking about this. We wouldn't be talking about, there would be the opposition would be far and few if sex work wasn't illegal in the first place, right, and it didn't get swept up in this, because it is, and essentially is going to make it more dangerous.
Right. If it was just
it's going to
make
it more dangerous for sex workers, those who choose to do it as a job. Now it opens up the door for them to be exploited, because now they probably have lost their ability to market themselves to people, and now they might have to, go back to pimps. You know what I'm saying?
See, this same executive director, Brugman, she also said that this legislation is going to deprive sex workers of a safe place to screen customers, which that may be true as well. But again, like we said, it's illegal in America. So I nobody's going to be surprised that the government is trying to crack down on prostitution, which is illegal. No, I'm not surprised at that whatsoever. Now, like you, I'm in opposition here of prostitution being illegal in America. People are adults; they can do whatever the hell they want to do. In other countries, it is legal. I mean, there's no reason. Like, I think the official status of our country is prude. It's not so much that people that live here are prudes, but it's like we display that we are based on our laws here. If prostitution was legal, then yeah, you wouldn't have to sweep this up into this whole sex trafficking thing. Now that still would mean that, you know, foreign companies could still, maybe come over and still create a marketplace, and that would still be something that we would have to do something about. But yeah, the aspect of the prostitution here is just like it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It shouldn't be here, because a person like MA that was right there behind the president, she wasn't standing there because she was involved in prostitution. She was standing there. She was
involved in slavery.
Yes, because she was sold. She was sold unwillingly as a prostitute. So I don't know. Maybe there will be something after this legislation, because like you said, Craigslist is scared right now, and there's gonna have to be something to smooth it over. There's gonna have to be something to where like personal ads are still gonna be able to be ran on websites,
Oh yeah,
without these platforms being scared that they're gonna be attacked by the government.